Hello everyone, my major work entitled Prism utilizes a wide range of complex visual techniques. In this 6 minutes we will break down what went into my film in order to deliver a professional looking outcome. Prism was produced using many techniques such as filming, motion design, 3D compositing, 3D animation, sound design, and the compositing of visual techniques. Today, however, we'll be dwelling on a specific element from each of these categories as displayed in the timestamps below. To start, I used the 3D camera tracker effect to track my footage and make some points in 3D space for my graphics to track to. I used a detailed analysis option as the only downside is time, and that's something I have plenty of when it comes to this major work. However, that's not to say there weren't problems. One of the most glaring problems was that the camera tracker would fail, and this was because the scene was too long and featured way too many changes in angles. So to solve this, I simply separated the clips, pre-composed them, and reapplied the effect whenever there was a major turning point or when it just bugged out. Unluckily, there were still some errors with the program, especially in the office, and there was really no way to fix these, so instead of painstakingly tracking these by hand, which still wouldn't have looked natural, I adapted the film around them. So as you can see here, I changed the sign up with an error and put a little bit of a glitch effect on when the camera tracker got messy, and I also glitched out the other poster saying "Welcome home, boss" when it started to lose its bearings. The 3D camera tracker was often paired with elements of motion design in the form of posters, signs, warning, and guidelines, as all of these futuristic elements needed to be animated in order to provide the scene with life and a sense of complexity. Found most predominantly in the office scene, I executed the motion design entirely in After Effects as I created the shapes, then keyframed and easy eased the transform values of scale, position, rotation, and opacity, and anything else you could really think of. Once completed, I entered the graph editor for fine-tuning of the flow animations using the handle points. Once completed, it was pre-composed and then used with the 3D camera tracker's 3D points in order to attach itself to the 3D environment and look as if it's a part of the environment. This process always came with new and challenging uses for every single time. Motion design by its very nature features a wide variety of new and difficult challenges. For example, the Office file saw tons of iteration in its animation and shape, a hotspot for which being the profile picture, which was executed by using green screen circles and masks. Element 3D is a very complex plugin for After Effects that essentially allows you to gain full access to 3D software from within the plugin, without the hassle of loading other 3D softwares like Blender or Maya and then exporting them in. Element 3D was used, once more, in the office scene, included in the UI when teleporting to the office, outside the office door, and in the cat in the poster inside the office. Again, using the data created from the 3D camera tracker, Element 3D utilizes custom layers in order to create realistic reflections of the environment and for the text. Within Element 3D, I created text, extruded it, added some bevel, added some glows, and just played around with it until it looked right. Then I headed back into After Effects and played around with the ambient occlusion, anti-aliasing, and advanced group property values in order to create realistic looking 3D text. As you can see here, it has created shadows and more depth. For the cat poster, however, I imported a very simple, subdivided, low poly cat model that I made in Maya, and then imported a cat texture that I found from the internet. All in all, I am very lucky, as due to my many previous years of experiences with the plugin, I found myself to have very little issues or hiccups along the way. In addition to all these crazy effects, compositing was still needed to piece everything together and make it seem realistic. I will also include some general obstacles that I had to overcome in this section. To start, I added black bars through the Jaws effect to give the film a more cinematic look and to cover up some of the pan crop animation used to stabilize the footage. I next added a color correction that emphasized the blues and oranges in the film while dampening the other colors. This gave it a vibrant, happy sick feeling. I also included a slight fisheye warp and edge blur to the color correction to give the footage more of a first person look. I next added some general sharpen and Real Smart Motion Blur Pro to give the end results a motion blur and make it seem more realistic. Moving on to the specifics, I added a simple depth map by masking out the background as seen when the protagonist is at their computer. then applied lens blur to the background, emphasizing the foreground. Speaking about masking, the restricted area timer in the office scene was a good example of mask reveals, as it will be revealed from behind a wall. Additionally, I use an expression for the timer in order to have the countdown clocking backwards. For masking, I used a wide range of keying methods such as rotoscoping, mocha, key light, linear color, and luma keys, as I accidentally shot the office scene with my hand in it, so I needed to mask it out in order to put the files behind them. In conclusion, a ton of compositing was needed in order to make Prism the film it was. For the sound effects, a surprising amount of them was sourced by yours truly. For the ambience, I managed to recover some old footage of a pachinko business when I went to Japan. Additionally, I recorded some mall, restaurant, chatter, and wind ambience. For the sound effects themselves, I took a planter stick and swung it around to create some nice whooshes, while the rest was sourced from the internet.